From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, kids making sweet treats that may not be as bad as you think.
Just because it's called candy doesn't mean it can't be nutritious for them.
Well, where are all these soybean buys China promised? Some shipments may be already heading to China. We'll have the details coming up today on AgDay.
Plus, the latest on the trade deal in principle with Japan. It's all ahead as AgDay reports from the Farm Progress Show.
AgDay at the Farm Progress Show is brought to you by the Great New Holland Hay Tools Giveaway. Go to newhollandgiveaway.com for a chance to win over $400,000 worth of haymaking equipment and prizes.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths, and we're at the 2019 Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. And we're going to be taking you on a tour of the latest in farm equipment and headlines throughout the week right here on AgDay. More on that in a bit, but first, we're still learning about that U.S. Japanese trade deal and what it means for producers. According to the Japanese Times, it's still unclear whether the Trump administration is removing the threat to place higher tariffs on Japanese autos despite the deal in principle. Even with the unknowns, former Japanese Ambassador Fujisaki says it's a capital letter win for the U.S. and a small letter win for Japan. American ag groups praising the news despite few details.
I mean, the announcement of agreement in principle is very normal in trade discussions. It means that we're there. The principals, both President Trump, President Abe, the negotiating teams have agreed on the main parts of it. There's always work to go to fill in the details, some of which we already discussed. And we'll look forward to see exactly what comes out when we see what the final deal is that gets signed towards the end of September.
Economists estimate exports to Japan will grow from $1.6 billion in 2018 to more than $2.2 billion over the next 15 years. The National Pork Producers Council is saying hog exports to Japan could grow from $1.6 billion in 2018 to more than $2.2 billion over the next 15 years as a result of gaining access to Japan with a deal. Now that's according to estimates given by Iowa State economist Dermot Hayes.
By far the first is that we get to keep our existing Japanese market. We were beginning to lose that to Europe in particular because they had better access than us. They had a European-Japan free trade agreement and we did not. And that was also occurring in Canada and Chile and Mexico because they were getting better access than we had.
Hayes puts out one warning. He says Japan's production prices for pork are much higher than the U.S. and Japan's domestic production could fall because they can't compete with U.S. pork if a deal is made. He cautions the Japanese government could protect its domestic producers with some type of deficiency payment. No word if that's the case. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue applauding the new trade agreement between the U.S. and Japan. The USDA leader calling it good for agriculture, saying the U.S. didn't get everything it wanted, but that's the way trade negotiations go. He talked about it during a visit to Virginia and the possible benefits of the deal.
Rice, which is not too big here in Virginia, is probably not going to be fare very well. That's unfortunate in Arkansas and Louisiana and those areas, but obviously beef and wheat and other crops such as corn that you mentioned will do very well.
But the Secretary also gave no specifics on the deal, but said more detailed information would be coming out. Now, in regards to talks with China, the president saying at the G7 summit earlier this week that his negotiators received calls from China that were encouraging earlier on Sunday. That's despite China announcing new tariffs last week on $75 billion worth of U.S. goods and President Trump announcing the U.S. would increase existing tariffs on $250 billion in Chinese goods. Now, China's foreign ministry spokesman saying on Tuesday he was not aware of calls from China to the U.S. for talks. The spokesman saying, quote, "We hope that the U.S. can remain calm and come to its senses, immediately stop wrong practices, and create favorable conditions for the two sides to conduct consultations on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and mutual benefit," end quote. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan is also here at the Farm Progress Show, and Tyne's been talking with some experts about this latest turn in trade talks with China. And Tyne, from what your experts are saying, it may not matter if we do get a deal.
Yeah, Clinton, well, it was the topic last year at Farm Progress Show, the trade war with China and just when will it end? But in talking with some industry folks that are tracking shipments, China's actually buying soybeans right now.
They are shipping soybeans. There are boats on the water We just shipped some last week. There were 9 boats, 4 out of the Gulf and 5 out of the Pacific Northwest. What we're not seeing is any big purchases from China or from the U.S. by China.
Ken Smithmeyer is with Clipper Data, which tracks soybeans leaving ports and where those shipments land. He says assuming there are no delays with unloading those boats, Clipper Data shows 9 to 10 million tons of U.S. soybeans could arrive in China this month alone. But Smithmeyer says what's key is where China goes to supply its soybean needs the rest of the year. Their data shows Brazil will run out of soybeans to ship.
Unless they have more of an exportable surplus than what the USDA or the local government knows about, no, the math doesn't work if China is going to import a similar amount to what they did last year.
Meanwhile, Syngenta's Mary Kay Thatcher says even if a trade deal with China is signed tomorrow, it does not mean a surge of soybeans or other ag goods would immediately ship.
I mean, I think the thing we have to remember is that you just don't resolve trade wars and trade starts again. It's likely to be 10 years at least before we, if ever, get back the soybean market to China.
Now, Clint, I also asked Thatcher about the trade deal with Japan, and she said, really, it comes down to the details. We have not seen those details yet, and it could be a while before we know exactly what was agreed upon in this new deal with Japan. Reporting from Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, I'm Tyne Morgan for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Now, some of the producers we've been talking with are also concerned about those biofuel blending waivers recently approved by the EPA. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue says he does not agree with a recent EPA statement that those refinery exemptions do not negatively impact ethanol demand.
I would refute this comment that has negative impact. They like to point to the export totals of ethanol production, which is good and healthy. We're trying to get more ethanol exports out there. But the demand destruction over domestic usage has been affected by the small refinery waivers.
Secretary Perdue confirming he met with the president about the issue Thursday in the Oval Office, saying they've made some progress in recovering some of the small refinery waivers. The corn crop continuing to mature, and we've seen some small condition improvements. That's according to the latest report from USDA. The new crop progress numbers put the nation's corn crop at 57% good to excellent. That's 1% higher from last week. Checking soybeans, 55% of the crop. The 18 states rated good to excellent. That's 2% higher than last week as well. And the spring wheat harvest now underway. USDA reporting 38% of that crop has been harvested. Typically it's 65%, but 69% rated good to excellent. And the weather is great right now here in Decatur, Illinois at the Farm Progress Show, as meteorologist Cindy Clausen explains in today's crop comments.
Oh yeah, Clinton, it definitely does look nice at the Farm Progress Show. Rain caused a little mud on Monday, but that's nothing like last year's event in Boone, Iowa, if you remember that one. Well, temperatures right now in Decatur, Illinois are right around 80 degrees, and it's expected to be sunny throughout the rest of the week. So it is definitely looking like a good forecast for the show. Let's take a look at your wind speed forecast, and we do have some windier conditions in the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes today, also in parts of southwestern and western Texas into the southwestern United States. Heading into the overnight, most of that diminishes, but you could see some more winds coming into the upper Midwest. That continues in those areas and into the Great Lakes once again today as another system moves into that neck of the woods. I'll have more in your forecast coming up, but for now, here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV, U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Still ahead, we dig into farm finances and what's needed right now to keep those farmers in business. And later, we head to camp where students are cooking up some tasty treats.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Well, I was able to catch up with Chip Flory, host of AgriTalk here at the Farm Progress Show. And Chip, these farm shows are generally where people come to kick tires and look at what's new and what to buy. But, one of the conversations we've been having is about the farm economy and how that's starting to stack up. What's your take on where we sit with the farm economy this year?
Mixed signals, Clinton. Mixed signals all over the place. You take a look at what's going on in the machinery market, the used machinery market in particular. We talk about it with Greg Peterson every week. There are some hot markets out there if it's low hour, good condition, everything that Greg likes to talk about. But there are other segments of the ag economy that are struggling and clearly struggling. And unfortunately, a lot of that is on the revenue side for farmers right now.
Right.
And we need to get our trade back. We need to get our demand back. We need to get a reliable source of domestic demand back in place with get rid of the SREs. We need our trade deals. We need all of that. It's not just one thing. It's not just one thing. If we can get all of those things plus get into the field and start combining corn and come up a little bit short this fall, we'll have a market that'll be okay.
Have a market that'll be okay. So as we try to get through 2019 and we get into 2020, are there any like litmus tests or things that you're going to say, you know what, if this happens, I think we're going to get through it? Is it really about a short crop, or is it about getting some of these trade deals sorted out?
No, I think it's really about livestock.
Okay.
If we can get our livestock industries right, get the feed yards making money, get the hog finishers making money, I think we'll be okay because it'll trickle down from there. But, and you know what, gosh, don't leave dairy out of that. You got to get the dairy industry back too. But you get that livestock industry back and it all trickles down, I think we'll be okay.
Okay, all right. Well, there's so many moving parts, as you mentioned, that it's a hard puzzle to put together, and it's not just one piece. So I appreciate the perspective as always. Thanks, Chip. We're going to be back with a check of weather and more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joining us again. Cindy, it's been pretty nice weather here. It's been cooler, a little bit of rain, but it sounds like summer may be returning later this week.
Yeah, you are going to see some warmer temperatures there and in a lot of the Corn Belt as things start to warm up a little bit. High pressure will help to keep you on the dry side there in Decatur. As we head through our Wednesday, we have a couple of things going on. We have one front that's going to be moving through the eastern part of the country, but you can see it trails back into the southern plains and even the Four Corners region. So we'll see some showers and some thunderstorms along that, and with the low pressure, so more so in the upper parts of the Great Lakes. So let's go through our Wednesday and watch everything as it progresses off to the east. So you can even see getting towards southern Lake Michigan, our model still tries to pop in a little bit more of moisture. We'll have some wraparound around that low pressure in Canada, but high pressure keeping much of the Corn Belt on the dry side, and we'll see the temperatures warming up a little bit. Second front is going to be coming in towards the upper Midwest, and that'll bring at least a brief cool down there, some showers into the upper Midwest and into the Great Lakes, but most of Thursday dry in a lot of the nation's central and southeastern part of the country as that high pressure moves on off to the southeast. Look for more showers and some rumbles of thunder with that front moving through the upper Midwest and into the Great Lakes. All right, let's take a look then at our precipitation estimate. We are looking at the past 24 hours, and a lot of that has been in the eastern half of the country and then also up and towards the Great Lakes, back down into the southwest on the trailing end of that cold front. That's going to continue to be the focus then as we move into the eastern part of the country. The tail end of that front's going to have some moisture around it, especially in Texas, western parts of the Gulf Coast states, and you can see that second area, low pressure moving into the upper Midwest. Temperature wise, we're going to be cool in the Great Lakes, but it does start warming up a little bit more in a lot of the Corn Belt, and that's good news. We need the heat there. We'll have 80s and 90s across the southern tier, except for those triple digits we're seeing in parts of the Southwest. Overnight, those low temperatures dip down for the most part in the 50s and 60s across the northern tier of states, 60s, 70s, maybe even a couple of 80s down south. As we head into tomorrow, we're going to be seeing some 80s and 90s across the south. Once again, some slightly cooler air behind that secondary front as highs only remain in the 60s in parts of the northern plains. Now here's what's going on. The jet stream has been bringing some cooler temperatures. That trough continues to pull away and kind of flatten out, and that will allow some warmer temperatures to creep back up a little bit further off to the north. As we head into Labor Day weekend, we're going to be seeing a bit of a ridge developing in the west, and that will kind of move across the country. So warmer temperatures there, but notice another trough developing as we get into the early to middle part of next week. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Bisbee, Arizona, showers and thunderstorms for you today with a high of 88 degrees. Montgomery City, Missouri, plenty of sunshine with a high of 79. And Bennington, Vermont, scattered showers and storms with a high of 77 degrees.
Coming up, it's not just grain farmers feeling the effects of a trade war with China. We talked with almond growers about their concerns. That's next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
The almond industry is watching closely to see if any trade deal is struck with China as the industry reels from tariffs. The Almond Alliance of California says China has announced additional retaliatory tariffs on $75 billion worth of U.S. imports. This is in response to the recent U.S. decision to impose 10% duties on $300 billion of Chinese imports. Now, almond kernels and in-shell are included in that 10% additional tariff list that will take effect September 1st. One grower in Bakersfield says the almond industry is still feeling the hurt from the tariffs.
With almonds in particular, there is issues there as far as not getting into China. So when you got 67% of the almond crop being shipped outside of the United States, something's going to give.
Numbers from the second round of aid payments show some California counties will receive over $100 for compensation on the trade war. Martinez says it's not enough to make up for the long-term damage. We told you about Washington State's apple crop last week. This week, we're talking about Michigan's, as that state also expecting a strong showing this year. A crop estimate of 25.25 million bushels was announced. That's about the same as the harvest last year. The Michigan Apple Committee says the estimate is based on reports from several regions of a clean crop with good-sized fruit. Now, leaders say the cool, rainy spring and hot July weather provided favorable conditions. Michigan apples typically are shipped from mid-August through the following June to more than 30 states and 18 nations. And the winners have been announced for this year's Blended Burger Project. They are the Burger Shack in Lahaina, Hawaii, Hops at 84 East in Holland, Michigan, Playa Linda Brewing Company in Titusville, Florida, Pompano Grill in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and Vintage Year in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, the contest nabbed the interest of almost 500 restaurants in all 50 states and hundreds of thousands of people voting. Restaurants serving their own versions of blended burger, which allowed chefs to add fresh chopped mushrooms to burger patties. It was hosted by the James Beard Foundation. Winners take home $5,000 each. Up next, Charles Denny gets baking.
I'm Charles Denny. It's a learning experience where the lessons are deliciously sweet. We're making and baking candy at Culinary Camp with the University of Tennessee Extension. That story from Cookeville, Tennessee, coming up on AgDay.
Some Tennessee youngsters had a great experience learning about baking and cooking at a recent summer camp. Charles Denny has more on this adventure for your taste buds in today's story.
Nobody knows the truffles I've seen. A class where students truly get to eat their homework. But first you've got to make it. No meatloaf or PB&J here. These youngsters are in a 4-H camp held recently at Tennessee Tech, creating with taste and flair candies, including chocolate truffles. They'll also bake taffy later. The key lesson, giving kids new skills.
Because it helps them learn more about everything, help them get a little bit more out of their comfort zone. I know it's helped me a lot.
We call it Experience Culinary, and this year, because it's candy, we're calling it Experience the Sweet Life.
Ah, okay.
Use a variety of candies.
Family and Consumer Sciences agent Anita Eckler likes teaching cooking at this middle school age.
When they learn skills young, it seems to stick with them.
The camp focused on making candy, but there were other important lessons here too. Instructors talked about nutrition, the science behind baking, and kids learned recipes from other countries and cultures.
You can't think of gummy candy without gummy bears and gummy worms.
FCS agent Haley Barnes leads a session on how to make nutritious gummy candies, traditionally full of sugar and artificial flavors, but here made with natural ingredients.
Just because it's called candy doesn't mean it can't be nutritious for them. So it's with real fruit and 100% fruit juice.
The next assignment for students, prepare for a candy buffet where they'll feed their parents and themselves. In this day and age of pop it in the microwave and heat it up, it's important coming generations can cook. Here they get a jump start on kitchen skills, eating dessert first, but that's acceptable as long as they learn. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, thanks, Charles, and that's going to wrap us up for this special edition of Ag Day from the 2019 Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. Our thanks to New Holland for allowing us to use their space. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Ag Day at the Farm Progress Show is brought to you by the Great New Holland Hay Tools Giveaway. Go to newhollandgiveaway.com for a chance to win over $400,000 worth of haymaking equipment and prizes.